Hello there and welcome back. Today we will be looking at my first Swiss game in the Vassal World Cup. It's a game against Kyrsta Agate. Um, 36 players out of 72 have advanced into the Swiss phase, so 4 rounds of Swiss, and this was my first game. So my list is unchanged from last time. It's a 400 point list with Romodi, ISD+. I think it's maybe a bit out of vogue now, but the combination of local fire control, link turbos, Palpatine, and Romodi keeps it relevant. You just don't want to shoot at it unless you know you are going to kill it. And countermeasures are not as good as before, but they are there to save you from that. Those one or two big blasts you might take in certain games. And the cheap Onager, classic Cataclysm build, only I've switched over to Nida. He's cheap and also pretty good. That salvo token is weak. Evade is stronger. And the two Flotillas, those should be familiar by now. Comsnets are needed because of ECM. Otherwise, you could go down to one. I guess Squadrons, Maarek, they are my ship killers, or they are also great as a fighter, part of the fighter's screen. But they are really needed by this list because it doesn't have a sweeper, so if things slip past me, they are great for taking it out. And of course, for putting pressure on defense tokens and that sort of thing. Mithel is maybe the least dangerous guy here, but it tends to attract attention. So the enemy will often jump forward just to lock him down, and of course they will. At the same time, this places them in a position that's more advantage to me. Wailing Rudor, unsung hero of this little 4-ace ball. He hits hard, and there's a lot of scatter races with counter out there. And of course, with Jenden, he can strip one of those aces of a scatter in a single round. He's also great for wiping out those generics that seem to have made a comeback after the ace cap. So that's 13 points of pure awesomeness. You can really understand why he's grinning now in 1-5 is better than ever and just as cheap. So the list that I'm facing, it is both scary and a bit unconventional. You have the Starhawk 2, which I have run in a similar configuration several times. It uses local fire control and Unity and Agate to gain 2 braces, 2 redirects, and 2 salvos. And with expert shield tech, it's damned hard to put enough pressure on the Starhawk to do damage. And it has repair crews. Normally not a good card, but in this specific list, and with the way the Starhawk always seems to survive, and you can actually afford to activate in the correct order and with bright hope, and you can also stay close enough to be relevant. So this one can get rid of a damage card, mostly a bad crit if that happens. So in this particular list, it's very solid. Toryn Farr is never wrong when you have that many rebel squadrons, and since you're also hanging around the Starhawk, you help it get extra rerolls, either on flak or with just battery armament. Leia Comsnet is, of course, a must in a 4-command rebel list. It's this is just 23 points, completely bonkers for what it does. The unconventional part there is that it has Ezra on the Starhawk, but it is actually very good when you consider the objectives. We'll talk a little bit more about them afterwards, but you can see how advanced gunnery Ezra does nothing, but he's generally an awesome guy. Contested outpost is of course very useful with Ezra, and also hyperspace migration. You can pull those whales into a more favorable position So I wouldn't discount it. A link, of course, is a must. EST must. High capacity ion turbines. Yeah, it's a bit expensive, but again, it makes sense in this particular list because now the Starhawk has no weak sides at all. It has 6 side arcs. And it only has one shooty ship, this list, and it doesn't have the Magnite tractor array, so that it doesn't have any speed control for its enemies. And now the absolutely least conventional thing, rapid launch bay, which will typically see these guys set aside. Pretty, pretty unconventional there. But it does give both a screening opportunity. You have to think about it twice before you understand why it is actually relevant. There is 10 Numb. There is 2 beefy escorts with counter. You have Toryn Farr, you have the Unity title, you have linked Turbolasers. So the moment these guys pop out into an enemy squadron swarm, and this one goes to Flak Town, everything is vaporized. 10 Numb with Toryn, maybe he gets the splash critical. These guys hit pretty hard with Toryn Farr, and of course the gruesome Flak. In this list, it actually has in this match, I mean, as it turns out, they do their part in murdering my poor Onager. By the way, look at my geeky T-shirt. It's Yoda, or maybe it's Grogu. I don't know, with glasses on. I got it from my brother for Christmas. Also, yeah. So that's the Starhawk 2. I really like this loadout. I like the list. What I don't particularly like is the inclusion of 4 Lancers. Yes, I can understand the idea here. They are not heavy and they have grit, and thus Unity can trigger. And with Unity and Linked, you have 2 rerolls there on the red possibly, and when you get closer you also have torrents. You could reroll 3 flak dice, but you have to remember you only have 1 ship that can shoot. So if your Starhawk isn't shooting at enemy ships because it's doing flak, you're not going to kill very many things, and it's a speed 2 lump, so it's not going to really catch anything either. That said, I don't think it is quite as bad as you might think, because you have to remember that often the role of the Starhawk will be as a tank. It's pure points denial. It's not going to give away any points, almost no points, unless the Starhawk dies. So even if he sees that he can't really kill very many of your ships with the Starhawk because you scatter or you're just not very cooperative, then he can gain points from objectives, and he can flak all your squads dead pretty quickly. And then these squadrons can go to town and murder some ships for additional points. On top of that, there is Shara, and I guess there were no points for Tycho, which is why it's a common A-wing. To be honest, I'm not sure I would have taken this one. I think I might have swapped out the high capacity ion turbine, and I don't think necessarily that I would have got rapid launch by, but I think it's an interesting idea. So to talk a little bit more about how this list wins, it also has 2 points scoring objectives there. Good old boring contested outpost. Kind of hard to take away from the Starhawk without actually killing it. So this can quickly become 120 points. And then if flaks something dead, that's more points, and you don't really kill very much of the list in return. But it's not a huge win. Hyperspace migration. It's been nerfed, but 3 ships can gain 3 tokens and then cash them in the round after. So he could theoretically gain 60 points every other round. So that could be 180. That's more than contested outpost. So be aware of that. Uh, but this, I think, it's easier to disrupt maybe, and also the fleet has to go sideways. He could, of course, release the flotillas to go sideways and have the Starhawk sort of fight slash screen them in the middle area, going this way. So then there is advanced gunnery, and conventional wisdom is that first player can find a lot of ways to flip this on the second player. I don't think that's the case with the Starhawk 2 here. It's too tanky. Even if you can put ISD front arc shots into its front and its side, that might not be enough. It gets close and then it vaporizes you. And it also plays to the flak roll of the ship. If it uses all these reloads, I can also shoot twice at each of your squadron. Any squadron heavy list will be just vaporized, and it will score points through that. So it has a way to deny points, and it has ways to score points, and it has solid second player objectives. And also, you typically don't really want to give this beast of a Starhawk a first player. What if he finally moves into you and then sets up a double arc or something? But that said, it's not very strong as first player. It's stronger as second player. And I also struggle to see how it can gain very big victories. It's very hard to defeat decisively, and it can generally score 7s or 8s, I guess, throughout. But I can't see how you would score a lot of 10 1s or 9 2s, like this list. But that's okay. Yeah. But enough talk about the theory behind this list. I didn't build it, so this is just me talking out loud. Okay, let's just step forward to see what happens. I win the roll. I choose to go first, and I pick its hyperspace migration. Um, why hyperspace migration, you ask? Why not just contested outpost? I think I made that clear just now. Uh, Contested outpost is usually 100, 120 points directly for him. Hyperspace space migration could be more. Usually it's around the same, but it could also be less. But the main reason I'm so very tired of playing contested outpost, if I have to play contested outpost again, I might just throw up. So that's the real reason here. So he gets a pass token since he has only 3 ships to my 4, and he doesn't want to give Romodi too much to work with here. Can't say I blame him, so I put my rocks here and kind of believe he would start in the other corner, but it doesn't really matter. He thinks about going sideways with all, and then finally, I must say I'm very happy about that. I can. So this is the setup. I started by deploying Hondo and the Squadrons, and this one, and my ISD, and the Onager. So, and he did put those inside. So this is a clear signal that he wants to fight, and I'm very happy with that, because if there's one thing I cannot enjoy, it's those running games where people don't want to slug it out. I mean, those are legitimate tactics, but I don't think they are very fun. So commands are set and we start moving, and you can see he starts turning into the table to keep his flotillas in a supporting position. And it's actually a good setup because to combat this, I have to turn hard. Going up here and trying to snipe these flotillas, that won't net me any points, and the Onager will die all alone. So that's not a very great plan. I can maybe just leave it there. It's a little bit of bumping. And then it triggers Ezra to move the whale forward. And the idea here is, of course, to block it in so that Starhawk can keep, and maybe this flotilla can keep milking it. But already, because it chooses to fight, the chances of scoring maximum here is greatly diminished. But what could he do? If he had kept going sideways, I would have just sped forward, and then he would have been eating Onager for 6 full turns. I don't think that would have been great for him. And also very boring. I think he also just wanted to play the game. He wanted to fight and see if he could make it. And yeah. And first shot of the day, and it's not a particularly good shot, but then I re-roll with veteran gunners, and it's less bad. Of course, he braces to 2 and reduces by expert shield tech, so it's just 1 damage, but it's 1 damage. And then the Onager has to face certain death by turning into the Starhawk, but that's okay. Yeah, and we can move this maybe out of the way a bit. And yeah, turning ISD, fiddling a lot with the maneuver tool already in round 1, but this one seemed okay to me. And we are just finishing up with some squadron moves, and you can see those nasty rogue bombers already in position. Must not underestimate 4 black bomber dice with bomber command center coming at you in the squadron phase. And he moves the whale. And we set commands, and you can see here that I have concentrate fire, and then I changed that to Squadron on the bottom, and the Onager will be repairing a lot, because that would have been nice last time I played. This time it turns out concentrate fire would have been a lot better, but okay, whatever. Feeding some tokens there. And we are in round 2, and there is much fiddling, but he needs to be at distance too, right? Because of repair crews, turn in, keeping my flotillas relevant. And this was kind of my plan, not to bunch the ISD and Onager up too much. So not a whole lot happens. Okay, we can show what happened. Another not super good roll. Oh, sorry. I should go back further. This is the initial roll. So I spend an accuracy, hoping to get another accuracy to lock down both braces and force Agate discard. So I roll again, and it's not a great roll. So I choke Nida with Vader, and it's another not so great roll. And I forgot to add in my concentrate fire earlier, so I did it. Now this is the choke roll. Sorry, mucho confusion. So I didn't manage to lock down both, but it was a good shot anyway. And some misclicks. And you can see that I triggered the special crit, so Bright Hope took some damage, and a bunch of Squadrons took a bit of damage, and this will be important later. Yeah, there is much fiddling and some misclicks, and it has no other option really, so I'm not sure why I'm fiddling so much. And by a stroke of massive luck, you can see that I had to turn, but only the side arc of the Starhawk is in. If the front arc had been in, that would have been bad. I was almost sure it would be, but I lucked out. So now comes the bombers. Uses a squadron token he got from Hondo there. And I move forward, but not too much. And I send in Maarek, sort of a sacrifice there. Now I take a bit of damage, but it's not dead yet. So I think the play, and Shara jumps down here. Yeah. So he has his first token. And we are in round 3. And now I put some repairs in on the ISD, and I keep repairing here. Maybe excessive, maybe not, and Squadrons on that. So this is where it gets interesting. I can zoom in a bit. So he spent his pass token last turn to force my Onager to move forward before his Starhawk. Yeah, I maybe seem to have forgotten to move the Space Whale, so we did that now. And here the second Space Whale comes out. And Cataclysm, it reveals a repair, and it had a repair token, so it repairs 3 shields, so it's and moves 1 shield, so it's back to full strength on the front. It's really gonna need that. And I shoot, and we get that pretty decent first shot. I spend accuracy, reroll with wet gunners, get that sweet second accuracy. And he chooses not to discard with Agate. So I would have liked him to discard, but 6 damage because it doesn't brace, reduced to 5. It's still pretty good, but as you can see, I'm repairing now. I'm not cons firing. I'm not getting the Romodi die, so I'm doing decent damage with the ignition attack, but it's nothing to be too happy about. But now, there we do it again. There is so much. Now yeah, shoot some flak at Shara. He takes that. So now she's down to 2. And here I am absolutely certain that I am dead, that this shot will be in. But here, and my opponent zoomed so much in here that it crashed. His Vassal crashes from a lack of memory. You can see it just goes through the plastic there. Fantastic luck. So I got lucky twice. My dice have been okay, not insanely good, but definitely not stone cold. But first my turning into, and he had just had side arc to me, and I have an evade. And then now just out of his 6th die side arc. Wow. But the Onager is not out of the woods yet, because I overlap, so he has a bunch of stuff up front here that can hurt me. And now comes these guys, rapid launch base, and he has a squadron command, so we can move 3 squadrons. And yeah, he shoots some, and you can see his squadrons do some pretty good damage to me. He's also maybe a little bit unfocused with his squadron shooting. So, but look at this roll. I get 10, and all my relevant tokens get locked down, my brace and my evade. So I and my shields are almost gone here already. So I just take 10 damage to the face. I expected to get a good licking and that he would get maybe an accuracy. Could get 2, I suppose, but 1 would be more likely. I did not expect him to get 2 accuracies and 10 damage on those dice. But okay, it happened. So yeah, I get a bunch of damage, and we're down to 4 hull. Not ideal, but it is what it is. So pretty much it has to go first next round just to, and then we ram, of course. So now I'm down to 3, and he's still relatively healthy. He gives my ISD a good licking there, and I locks down my brace and my salvo. I use ECM to actually salvo because if you want to split fire on my ISD, that's fine. But I need to do as much damage as possible. So I get 3 damage in return and pressuring his defense tokens a bit. But he uses EST down to 2, very annoying. But we're getting there. And now it's my ISD's turn, and I lock down both braces. So now I am starting to get through. Damaged munitions is good, of course, but he has that annoying repair flotilla coming up next. And now I take my second shot out the side at Shara. I get the 2 accuracies I need. Pretty lucky there. And then I trigger link Turbolasers, so I knock her out. This will also be important. And there is much fiddling because I don't think I can get a double arc. But I choose not to go down in speed because ramming is important at this stage. But then I miraculously do get the double arc. But it won't be that important because my Onager has to go first anyway. But at least I have some pressure on him. He still has a bunch of hull left, but his shields are evaporating. So it gets past and it gets rid of damaged munitions. I do some squadron stuff here. Whaling. And he gets a very nice roll there, killing that Lancer. Even without any rerolls. So, Jenden. And yeah, I wasn't going to activate Mithel, but he shoots and does 1 damage and scatters. I don't think that was ideal. I think I got greedy there, but and this will lead to Mithel dying soon. And my second flotilla, just moving forward. These guys are tied up anyway on first player, so I save that squadron token by giving it to the Onager. And Mithel shoots again. And suddenly he's managed to do very little damage, but he stripped himself of the scatter. I don't know what I was thinking. And now my squadrons take a bit of a licking in return. But he can't quite kill Mithel despite having lost his scatter. So don't be so impatient when you are Mithel. He's a great squadron to just hang there and tie up the enemy. You shouldn't be shooting at stuff with counter. And 7 hull. Oh. Not sure why I did that, but I did. Yeah, whales moving, tokens being processed. So now these two ships have tokens, and we're at 4. And I'm throwing in a cons fire at the end there, and it keeps repairing, but it's gonna die soon. So okay, maybe we can zoom in even more there. So Cataclysm repairs a hull damage with its engineering command, and then commands Valen Rudor, and there is no escorts up here, and it locks down the A-wings. It's a pretty good move, and he gets another one of those, knocks him right off the table with another triple hit. So then the Onager shoots, and now it's my turn to get that sweet roll. There aren't any accuracies, and then I re-roll and get one more, so that's 11 damage. So he's forced to brace, of course, and get some depowered armament. Not sure if it's ever gonna shoot at long range again, so not a problem. But you can see now he has 1 shield in the rear, and he's down to 7 hull. And I shoot some flak, and it's pretty good, and then we ram. And then, of course, he has a repair. So, but no repair token anymore, so it just gets 2 shields back. So he's feeling the pressure. And he gets another good shot out the front. And there isn't very much I can do. I can't even. He sort of worked it out, and even with a perfect evade, getting rid of a double and bracing, since he had no accuracy, he just had enough damage to kill me without the ram, so he just took it off the table. So here is the question. Yeah, he shoots me and instantly regrets it, because once again I can use ECM to salvo him. So he takes another 2, and he has to spend more tokens. It's just 1 damage, but it's definitely worth it. And every time he does something, here we have the bug where the exhausted salvo token prevents exhaustion of defense token 3. It's a very esoteric bug, and it's fixed in the next build. But we have to use a manual token here to keep track of it. And then he has to go down to speed 1 to avoid the double arc, because a double arc would almost certainly mean that he's dead in as soon as my ISD activates. This way I only get the front arc shot. So there's some overlaps there, and I changed my mind and deploy them here because I want Whaling to shoot at this escort here. I'm thinking, but I decide to go with these guys instead, doing a lot of flak damage. And this move here, instead of staying away from the Starhawk, I end up going closer to it to flak. But this seals the fate of Hondo later. He dies, and along with Mithel, that prevents me from gaining a 9-2. So I absolutely didn't think that way. Perfect. And now my ISD has a squadron command for this round, so Jenden makes Whalen shoot, 2 damage. Maarek shoots, kills him. And Mithel commits suicide because reasons, I don't know. I'm making all the wrong choices with that Mithel guy this game. I think I was just who cares? I wasn't counting points. I wasn't planning ahead at all. So we're done. And now my very lousy front arc shot. This can be a problem with the ISD2. You are not in any way guaranteed to get high damage. And sometimes you will just get low damage and way too many accuracies. So, but I have a concentrate fire token and I have linked turbolasers. But given that there is absolutely no chance of anything Romodi happening in this game, I could have choked Romodi, but I completely forgot I could. Who cares? So it takes a bunch of damage. And I do some flak again. And link turbolasers. Am I allowed to call them overpowered? Yes, they are incredibly good. Let's call them incredibly good for 7 points. So, yeah, I crush him again. But, yeah. So there is some Squadron action, and he rolls extremely poorly with 10. Gets Maarek. That had to happen. And another wasted roll. And he gains 2 victory tokens. But now my ISD gains a victory. No, gets a token because of this guy. And yeah. So Romodi has a repair. I wish he had a shooter. And again, it's a good roll. But again, I forget I have Wader. I could have choked someone to get that 1 extra damage that I needed. Because now when I ram him, he'll be at 1. Nasty. And then he activates this guy. And I shoot him in the side here with a concentrate fire, but I can't get the 2 damage that I need. So he reduces that to 0. And then he goes. And he, of course, wipes out Hondo. So another bad move on my part there. But okay. He can't get away. So he repairs a little bit. And stuff move around. Wayland Rudor cannot die. So turn 6. I do not shoot Starhawk because it will be rammed to death. So what I do is I just make sure it doesn't kill any more of my squads. And not because I can't table him. I will table him, but it doesn't end until the round is over. So I have wasted Mithel and my flotilla. So I figure I will just try to kill off his squads. So this A-wing dies too. So 10 Numb can't hurt Whalen. So he doesn't gain any more points. And my flotilla here, who got an objective token the round before, gets a victory token. So it ends up 3-2. That's very good for a hyperspace migration game. So, okay. So we had some good rolls, both of us. I think both played well. It was a nerve-wracking experience. The Onager just pulling through to deliver enough damage and put enough pressure on those defense tokens to enable the ISD to finally take out the Starhawk in round 6. I think if I had remembered Wader and Romodi, I should have been able to kill it in 5. You can also ask why I didn't keep my Onager and ISD closer together, but I'm a little bit afraid of the closing with the Starhawk. This is the Starhawk shooting at me a couple, 3 times or something, a few bombers blanking out. And yet still I am down to 8 hull and almost stripped of shield, and this is with Emperor Palpatine and salvo token sort of making him not want to shoot me. If I had been more aggressive, he would have shot it more, and if he had rolled better on his bombers here, he could have gotten some crits in or just done a whole lot more damage, and suddenly it would be my ISD that had died before the Onager, and if the ISD goes, then the Onager completely lacks the firepower to take out something like a Starhawk, so that mustn't happen. So it's much better to trade away the Onager and keep the ISD. The points difference is pretty huge. So this was 440 to me and 240 to him, and that ended up being 20 points or something shy of 9-2. So, I mean, if I had saved the flotilla, but I think it was pretty good result for me. If I hadn't been able to kill the Starhawk, it would have been a disaster. So, yeah, that's about it. I'm not entirely sure what happens next time. We can see. No, we can't see it there. We can see it here. Because this is the list so far. I think there are 6 games unplayed, so I'm at 8. And that means I will be playing, and if this was the final result, 2 8s would play each other, and 1 8 would play a 7. So right now I could either face Roald, who is running some separatist China bomber magnificent things. Quite scary. Faced that list once before with my Republic consulars one. Angry Ewok, Akbar. Haven't looked at that list. Or one of the 7s. Heaver is also running Magnificence. I think he's that's an all ship list. And we can look at what lists I can meet when the final games are played. This is Agate, probably another Starhawk, something else. Slow, always. Evil, I wonder if that's sort of a stay away Sloan with a Quasar that sort of circles at the very edge of the board. Absolutely least interesting thing to play against. Very effective though, but not very fun to chase with an ISD and an Onager. I suppose that's the whole point of the list. Okay, that's it for today. Goodbye.